He gave away his last dollar, slept on a mattress in a tiny room, and bet everything on a vision no one else could see, that kindness could become the most powerful currency on earth. There's a moment in everyone's life when they stand at a crossroads. One path leads to safety, to comfort, to the predictable rhythm of an ordinary existence. The other path disappears into fog, offering no guarantees, no roadmap, just a whisper in the heart that says, "What if?" Jimmy Donaldson stood at that crossroads when he was barely old enough to vote. While his friends were choosing college majors and planning conventional careers, he was filming videos in his childhood bedroom, talking to a camera with an audience so small it could fit in a single room. His mother worried, his friends questioned. The world around him moved forward with certainty, while he remained in that small room, chasing something invisible. But Jimmy saw what others couldn't. He understood a truth that would eventually reshape the entire landscape of digital media, a truth so simple, yet so profound, that it would turn him into one of the most influential figures of his generation. The truth was this: in a world drowning in content, genuine human connection was the rarest treasure. And nothing connects human hearts faster than witnessing pure, unadulterated generosity. The boy who would become Mr. Beast didn't start with millions. He didn't have wealthy parents funding elaborate productions or industry connections opening doors. What he had was more valuable than money. He had obsession, he had hunger, and he had a belief that if he could just crack the code, if he could just figure out what made people not just watch, but feel, he could change everything. So he studied. While teenagers his age were at parties, Jimmy was analyzing YouTube algorithms like a scientist studying the human genome. He watched thousands of videos, taking notes on every second that held attention, every moment viewers clicked away. He became a student of human psychology, understanding that the currency of the digital age wasn't just views or likes, it was emotion. It was the feeling that washed over someone when they witnessed something extraordinary. His early videos were rough, amateur, sometimes painful to watch. He tried every format imaginable: gaming content, commentary, challenges, estimating how long it would take to count to 100,000. Most of these experiments failed. His view counts remained stubbornly low. Months turned into years. The bedroom stayed the same. The dream seemed increasingly unrealistic. But here's what separated Jimmy from the countless others who gave up. He treated failure like data. Every video that flopped wasn't a defeat. It was information. It was a lesson about what didn't work, which meant he was one step closer to discovering what would. While others saw obstacles, he saw a puzzle waiting to be solved. The hours he invested were staggering. 15-hour days became normal. 16 became standard. Sometimes he'd work through the night, editing footage, studying analytics, trying to understand why one video performed while another, identical in effort, fell flat. His friends moved on with their lives. They got jobs, started relationships, built conventional paths to success. Jimmy remained in that bedroom, hunched over a computer, refusing to accept that his vision was impossible. There were moments of doubt, of course, times when the gap between where he was and where he wanted to be seemed insurmountable, times when giving up would have been the rational choice. His channel growth was glacial. The money he earned barely covered basic expenses. He was betting years of his life on something that most people would have written off as a childish fantasy. But something kept him going. Maybe it was stubbornness, maybe it was faith, maybe it was the simple inability to imagine doing anything else. Whatever the fuel, it burned hot enough to carry him through the darkest periods of doubt. He kept filming, kept posting, kept learning, kept believing that eventually, somehow, the breakthrough would come. Then, something shifted. He started experimenting with a new concept. What if, instead of just talking about giving money away, he actually did it? What if he took whatever small amount he earned from his videos and turned it into content by literally handing it to strangers? The idea seemed counterintuitive. Most content creators were trying to maximize profit, to squeeze every dollar from their efforts. Jimmy was proposing the opposite. Spend everything. Give it all away. and trust that something magical would happen in return. His first major giving video was modest by today's standards. He gave a homeless person some cash. The production quality was basic. The editing was simple. But something in that video touched a nerve. People didn't just watch, they felt. They shared. They talked about it. For the first time, Jimmy saw what genuine generosity looked like when amplified through media. It wasn't just entertainment. It was inspiration. It was proof that goodness still existed in a world that often felt cold and cynical. So he doubled down. Every dollar his channel earned went right back into the next video. He gave larger amounts. He found more creative ways to help people. A waitress received a $1,000 tip. A pizza delivery driver got a car. Small businesses struggling to survive received lifelines. Each video became an event, a moment of unexpected joy captured on camera and shared with millions. But here's what most people miss about the MrBeast story. This wasn't a marketing strategy dreamed up in a boardroom. This was a young man who genuinely believed that money was only valuable if it moved, if it created ripples of positive change. He could have kept the earnings, bought himself comfort, secured his future. Instead, he lived like a monk, pouring every resource back into the mission of spreading generosity. His living conditions reflected this commitment. While his channel began generating significant revenue, Jimmy continued living in modest circumstances. No mansion, no luxury cars, no extravagant lifestyle. He understood something that many people never grasp, that true wealth isn't measured by what you keep, but by what you're able to give away. Every dollar that stayed in his pocket was a dollar that couldn't change someone's life. The algorithm noticed. When platforms detect authentic human emotion, when they see videos that keep people watching not out of addiction, but out of genuine engagement, they amplify that content. YouTube began recommending his videos more widely. Each act of kindness reached exponentially more people, and with more reach came more revenue, which meant Jimmy could give away even more. It became a beautiful cycle. The more he gave, the more his channel grew. The more his channel grew, the more he could give. What started as a risky experiment transformed into a movement. People weren't just watching to be entertained. They were watching to remember that humanity still had a heart. They were watching to feel hope, to witness proof that generosity wasn't extinct, that there were still people willing to put others before themselves. His video concepts grew more ambitious. He didn't just give cash. He orchestrated entire experiences. He opened a free restaurant and gave away thousands of meals to people who desperately needed them. He recreated elaborate game show sets and handed out life-changing prizes to ordinary people pulled from obscurity. He rallied the internet community and planted millions of trees, turning digital engagement into environmental action. He funded surgeries for people who couldn't afford them, literally giving the gift of sight to those who had lived in darkness. Each video raised the stakes. Each production became more elaborate. The team around him grew from just Jimmy and a camera to dozens of people coordinating complex logistics. But the mission never wavered. Everything served the same purpose: create moments of genuine human connection through acts of radical generosity and trust that the audience would respond. Critics emerged, as they always do when someone succeeds at scale. Some called it exploitation, argued that filming acts of kindness somehow tainted the purity of giving. They said that real charity happened in silence, that publicizing generosity was self-serving. But Jimmy had a response that silenced most skeptics. If filming generosity meant he could help 100 times more people, wasn't that worth it? If his videos inspired even a fraction of his audience to be kinder in their own lives, wasn't that a net positive for the world?
He understood something profound about modern media. We live in an attention economy, and attention is the most valuable resource on the planet. Every day, billions of people scroll through feeds, watching content that ranges from meaningless to actively harmful. If he could capture even a fraction of that attention and redirect it toward goodness, toward helping others, toward proving that generosity wasn't naive but powerful, then he was doing something that mattered. He was using the tools of capitalism to fund the work of compassion. The scale of his giving became almost incomprehensible. Entire homes given to families who had struggled for years to find stable housing. College tuitions paid in full for students who thought higher education was forever out of reach. Small towns revitalized with sudden influxes of support that brought dying communities back to life. Veterans honored with dream experiences after years of service that had gone unrecognized. Strangers turned into millionaires with the press of a button, their lives fundamentally altered in the span of a single video. Each recipient became a story, not just a transaction, but a human being with dreams and struggles and a life that suddenly had new possibilities. Jimmy made sure the cameras captured not just the moment of giving, but the aftermath, the tears, the disbelief, the overwhelming emotion of someone realizing that their prayers had been answered in the most unexpected way possible. These moments were raw, authentic, impossible to fake, and they resonated with audiences because everyone understood that visceral feeling of hope. But beyond the spectacle, beyond the viral moments and staggering numbers, there was always Jimmy himself, the young man who still lived simply, who reinvested profits instead of hoarding them, who worked 18-hour days not to build an empire for himself, but to expand his capacity to help others. His team grew, but the mission remained pure. Everyone around him bought into the vision: create content that made people feel good and use the profits to make the world better. He faced challenges that would have broken lesser spirits. Production disasters where elaborate setups failed at the last minute. Legal complications navigating the complex world of large-scale charitable giving. The pressure of managing a team and a brand that had become synonymous with generosity. There were videos that didn't perform as expected, campaigns that faced unexpected obstacles, moments when the path forward seemed unclear. But Jimmy had learned early that persistence was the secret ingredient, that showing up every single day, even when success seemed distant, was how impossible dreams became reality. His influence began extending beyond YouTube. Other creators started adopting similar models, understanding that audiences craved content with heart. Major brands wanted to partner with him because association with genuine goodness was more valuable than traditional advertising. Platforms highlighted his work because it represented the best of what digital media could be: entertaining, impactful, and meaningful. He became a case study in business schools, a phenomenon analyzed by marketers trying to understand what made his approach so effective. The financial numbers became staggering. His channel generated millions in revenue each month. Individual videos could earn more than most people made in a year. But here's the remarkable part: he didn't change. While other creators used success to fund mansions and supercars and lifestyles of conspicuous consumption, Jimmy continued living modestly, treating money like fuel for a larger purpose rather than the end goal itself. His wealth was measured not in what he accumulated, but in what he distributed. He opened physical businesses designed around the concept of giving. A burger restaurant where profits funded more charity. A chocolate company where every purchase contributed to meaningful causes like feeding the hungry and supporting sustainable farming. He understood that traditional business could be reimagined, that profit and purpose didn't have to be opposing forces. You could build sustainable enterprises that generated revenue while simultaneously making the world better. The businesses weren't just side projects, they were proof of concept that ethical capitalism could work at scale. His videos became cultural moments. When he announced a major giving campaign, the internet rallied. Millions watched live as he changed lives in real time. Entire families planned their evenings around his uploads, gathering together to witness moments of pure human kindness. Teachers showed his videos in classrooms as examples of creative problem solving and social responsibility. Parents pointed to him as proof that young people could channel ambition toward making the world better instead of just enriching themselves. But perhaps the most powerful aspect of the Mr. Beast phenomenon wasn't the individual acts of generosity, as impressive as they were. It was the shift in collective consciousness he helped create. He proved that kindness wasn't soft or naive. It was powerful. It was magnetic. It could build empires and change lives and inspire millions. In a media landscape often criticized for amplifying negativity, for rewarding controversy and outrage, he showed that goodness could compete, could win, could dominate. Young people watching his videos learned a different definition of success. Not the traditional model of accumulation and display, where worth was measured by possessions and status symbols. Instead, they saw a model of circulation and impact, where success meant how many lives you touched and how much good you created. They saw that you could be wildly successful while remaining grounded, that fame could be wielded as a tool for good rather than just personal gratification. Jimmy became living proof that you didn't have to choose between doing well and doing good. You could pursue both with equal passion and use one to fuel the other. His influence rippled through unexpected places. Established philanthropists took note, studying his methods for maximizing emotional impact and engagement. Traditional charities began examining how they could incorporate storytelling and media to amplify their work. Marketers analyzed his content to understand authentic connection in an age of cynicism. Educators used his story to teach lessons about persistence, creativity, and the power of aligning passion with purpose. He became a case study in how one person, starting with nothing but belief and obsession, could create meaningful change at a massive scale. There were personal costs, of course. The demands of maintaining such a high output channel, of constantly raising the stakes and delivering spectacle that exceeded previous videos, took a toll. Jimmy spoke openly in interviews about the pressure, about sleepless nights wrestling with creative blocks and the weight of expectations. He talked about the challenge of staying authentic when every move was scrutinized by millions. He acknowledged the mental and emotional burden of carrying a brand built on relentless positivity. But he also talked about the fuel that kept him going. Every message from someone whose life was changed, every comment from a viewer inspired to be kinder in their own sphere, every reminder that his work mattered beyond entertainment metrics. These messages came daily. People who had received help directly, people who had been inspired to help others, people who had rediscovered faith in humanity by watching his videos. This feedback loop sustained him through the difficult moments. His team became like family, united by a shared mission. They weren't just producing content, they were part of something larger, a movement proving that media could be a force for tremendous good. Every person who joined his operation understood that they were trading conventional career paths for the opportunity to change lives on a massive scale. And they made that trade eagerly, energized by the knowledge that their work had meaning beyond metrics. They were building something that would outlast any single video, any single campaign. The production value of his content evolved dramatically. What started as simple video shot with basic equipment transformed into cinematic productions with professional crews, elaborate sets, and budgets that rivaled television shows. But the increased production value never overshadowed the core message. Every technical improvement served the mission of creating more impactful moments of generosity. Better cameras meant capturing emotion more vividly. Better editing meant crafting more compelling narratives. Better logistics meant helping more people more effectively. The transformation of Jimmy Donaldson from a teenager making videos in his bedroom to Mr. Beast, one of the most influential creators in digital media history, is more than a success story. It's a blueprint for how individuals with vision and determination can reshape cultural narratives. It's proof that you don't need permission to make a difference. You don't need to wait for someone to hand you resources or opportunity. You just need to start, to persist through failure, to believe so deeply in your mission that obstacles become irrelevant.
Consider the mathematics of his impact. Hundreds of millions of dollars given away directly. Countless businesses saved from closure. Families housed who were facing homelessness. Medical procedures funded that restored health and dignity. Educations provided that opened doors previously locked. trees planted that will clean air for generations, oceans cleaned of pollution that was choking marine life. The direct, measurable impact alone would be impressive enough to define a successful philanthropic career. But multiply that by the inspiration factor, by every viewer who decided to be a little kinder, a little more generous in their own sphere of influence. Every person who left a bigger tip because they watched his videos. Every person who donated to charity because they saw it modeled. Every person who helped a neighbor because they were reminded that goodness matters. The true impact becomes immeasurable. It spreads like ripples on water, touching shores that Jimmy will never see, creating effects that can't be tracked or quantified. He proved that the internet, often criticized as a toxic wasteland of negativity and division, could be a tool for unprecedented good. That viral moments didn't have to be about controversy or conflict. They could be about joy, about surprise, about the beautiful shock of unexpected generosity. He hijacked the attention economy and redirected it toward light. He showed that you could compete for eyeballs and win while making the world better rather than worse. His evolution continues. Each year brings new challenges, new opportunities to expand the mission. He's explored educational content, teaching financial literacy and entrepreneurship to young audiences. He's tackled environmental initiatives, mobilizing communities around sustainability. He's addressed global hunger, partnering with organizations to feed people in food deserts and disaster zones. He's recognized that the platform he's built gives him a responsibility that extends beyond entertainment. With hundreds of millions of subscribers trusting him, believing him, following his journey across multiple platforms, he has the capacity to draw attention to causes that desperately need visibility. When Mr. Beast talks about an issue, people listen. When he launches a campaign, communities mobilize. This influence is wielded carefully, with full awareness of the responsibility it carries. He understands that his voice can move markets, change policies, and shift cultural conversations. But through all the growth and transformation, the core remains unchanged. Jimmy is still the kid who believed that giving away everything would somehow create abundance, who trusted that generosity would be rewarded not in karmic abstractions, but in concrete ways that enabled more giving, who saw money not as something to hoard, but as energy to be circulated, as fuel for a mission larger than himself. That fundamental belief system, forged in a small bedroom while the world slept, continues to guide every decision. There's poetry in his story. The boy who had nothing built everything by giving it all away. The creator who succeeded by defying conventional wisdom about content and commerce. The young man who became wealthy by making wealth secondary to impact. In a world that often teaches us to grasp, to accumulate, to protect what we have, Jimmy became a living example of a different path. A path that says abundance comes from generosity, that success is measured by impact, that the point of having is giving. His videos aren't just entertainment, they're modern parables. Each one contains the same essential message, that we're all capable of more generosity than we think, that small acts of kindness can cascade into massive change, that the world becomes better when we choose to lift others up rather than stepping over them to advance ourselves. These aren't lectures, they're demonstrations. They're proof in action that the principles work. Young viewers watching his content are learning an alternative definition of what it means to be successful, to be admired, to matter in the world. They're seeing that viral fame can be achieved through goodness rather than controversy, that millions of people will rally around positivity just as quickly as they might around drama, that there's a hunger in the human heart for proof that we're not as selfish and broken as we sometimes fear, that heroes can be real and accessible and human. The businesses he's built, from Beast Burger to Feastables Chocolate, continue the model of profit with purpose. They're proving that commercial success and social good aren't mutually exclusive, that consumers will enthusiastically support brands that align profit motive with positive impact. The businesses generate millions in revenue, all of which gets cycled back into more giving, more content, more impact. It's a self-sustaining ecosystem where doing good enables doing more good. His team has grown into dozens of people, each one carefully selected not just for skills, but for alignment with the mission. They scout locations, design challenges, find recipients, manage logistics for increasingly complex productions.
They handle legal compliance, financial accounting, public relations, community management. Behind every video are countless hours of planning, problem solving, and coordination. But the complexity serves the simplicity of the core mission. Use attention to create good. Jimmy has faced the challenges that come with massive visibility, scrutiny of every decision, with critics ready to pounce on any perceived misstep, pressure to constantly outdo previous videos, to top himself in increasingly difficult ways, the logistical nightmares of operating at such scale, where small mistakes become big problems, the responsibility of knowing that millions of people, many of them children, are watching, learning, being influenced by his choices and values. He's navigated these challenges with remarkable maturity for someone so young. He's learned when to respond to criticism and when to ignore it. He's developed systems to ensure accountability and transparency in his giving. He's built safeguards against the exploitation that could easily occur when giving away money on camera. He's always returned to first principles when making difficult decisions. Is this helping people? Is this inspiring goodness? Is this worth doing? Is this aligned with the mission? The criticism that occasionally surfaces usually misses the point entirely. Yes, he films his generosity. Yes, his charitable acts generate content that generates revenue. But the alternative would be one person helping a few others in private while his unique ability to mobilize resources for maximum impact goes unused. By making generosity entertaining, by proving that doing good can capture attention at massive scale, he's created a sustainable model for ongoing, expanding charitable work. The traditional model of philanthropy involves accumulating wealth through business, then giving it away later through foundations with operating costs and bureaucracy. Jimmy's model collapses that timeline. He's giving away money as he earns it, creating a direct pipeline from content revenue to charitable impact. The efficiency is remarkable. No board meetings or grant applications or administrative overhead. Just direct, immediate help going to people who need it. His influence on digital culture cannot be overstated. He's shown a generation of creators that virality doesn't require shock value or controversy, that you can win the attention game while remaining fundamentally decent, while building others up, while contributing positively to the collective good. He's expanded the definition of what success looks like for content creators, moving beyond personal enrichment to encompass broader social impact and responsibility. The homes he's given away shelter families who had struggled for years, children who can now grow up in stability. The food programs he's funded have fed tens of thousands of people who were facing genuine hunger. The environmental initiatives he's supported have tangible, measurable effects on planetary health. The medical procedures he's financed have restored health and hope to people who had resigned themselves to suffering. These aren't abstract impacts recorded in reports. They're real people whose lives fundamentally changed because one person decided that giving away everything would lead to having enough to give even more. His story resonates because it taps into something universal: the desire to matter, to make a difference, to know that our existence contributed something positive to the world beyond our own survival and comfort. Most people want to be generous, but feel constrained by their circumstances, limited by resources, uncertain how to help effectively. Jimmy shows that you can start where you are, that you don't need millions to make a difference in your community. He started with dollars and grew from there. The amount was never the point. The intention was everything. As his channel has grown, so has his understanding of the responsibility that comes with influence. He's used his platform to draw attention to global issues that need visibility, to rally support for causes that struggle to compete for attention in the crowded media landscape, to prove that young people care deeply about making the world better and will show up when given the opportunity. He's become an ambassador for the possibility of using digital media as a force for genuine good. The transformation isn't just in the world around him. It's in the millions of viewers who've been changed by watching his content, people who've been inspired to tip more generously at restaurants, to donate to causes they care about, to look for opportunities to help in their own communities in whatever ways they can. The ripple effect of his work extends far beyond what can be measured or filmed. It lives in the small daily choices of people who've been reminded that kindness matters, that generosity changes things, that one person can make a difference.
His future is unwritten, but the trajectory is clear and inspiring. He'll continue finding ways to give at larger scales, to create content that moves people emotionally, to prove that generosity can be the foundation of a meaningful life and career. He'll face new challenges, explore new territories, push boundaries in ways we can't yet imagine. But the core will remain unchanged, the belief that the best use of wealth and influence is making other people's lives better. Full stop. There's something profoundly hopeful about the MrBeast phenomenon. In an era often characterized by division, cynicism, and despair about the state of the world, he's created an oasis of positivity that millions visit regularly. His videos are proof that people are hungry for goodness, that they want to believe in humanity, that they'll enthusiastically support those who dedicate themselves to lifting others. This hunger for positive content suggests that the future of media might be brighter than pessimists predict. The boy in the bedroom who bet everything on an impossible vision was right. Kindness is the most powerful currency. Generosity does create abundance. Giving everything away can lead to having more than you dreamed possible, not in the sense of personal accumulation, but in the sense of impact, of meaning, of knowing that your existence made the world measurably better than it would have been without you. Jimmy Donaldson, the young man who became MrBeast, didn't just build a fortune, he built a movement. He proved that you could succeed wildly while remaining fundamentally decent, that you could accumulate wealth and influence while making their distribution your primary goal rather than their accumulation. That the path to mattering wasn't about taking, but about giving, about showing up every day with the question, how can I help? Who can I serve? What difference can I make today? His legacy is already secure, though he's still young and has decades of impact ahead of him. He's shown that one person with vision, persistence, and a commitment to goodness can shift culture, can inspire millions, can prove that the best stories aren't about accumulation, but about circulation. Not about what you keep, but about what you give away. Not about climbing over others, but about lifting them up and celebrating their success. And in that small bedroom where it all started, where a teenager filmed videos to an audience of almost no one, there was a dream taking shape, a dream that kindness could win in a competitive landscape, that generosity could scale to unprecedented levels, that one person could make a difference so large it would inspire countless others to make differences in their own spheres of influence. That dream didn't just come true, it exceeded everything that boy could have imagined, growing into something bigger than any single person. Because here's the final, most beautiful truth about the MrBeast story. It's not finished. It's still being written every single day. Every new video, every act of generosity, every life changed, every viewer inspired to be kinder in their own way, it's all part of an ongoing story about what becomes possible when someone decides that the best use of their gifts is making other people's lives better. When someone chooses abundance over scarcity, generosity over hoarding, impact over accumulation. The fortune Jimmy built wasn't measured in dollars, though there are plenty of those flowing through his operations. It was measured in hope restored, in smiles created, in lives transformed, in a generation taught that success and service can be the same thing. He gave everything away and discovered that there's no such thing as running out when your fuel is genuine desire to help. The more he gave, the more he had to give. The more he helped, the more people wanted to help him help others. It became a beautiful, unstoppable cycle of goodness, amplifying itself through the power of modern media. That's the real secret behind how MrBeast built a fortune by always giving back. He understood that fortune isn't about what you accumulate in bank accounts. It's about what you create in the world. It's about the ripples you send out that touch shores you'll never see. It's about lying down at night knowing that your existence made someone's life better today. He built a fortune of impact, of meaning, of love expressed through practical generosity. And that kind of fortune, that's the only kind that really matters in the end. That's the kind that lasts long after views are counted and money is spent. That's the kind that changes the world one person, one moment, one act of kindness at a time.
If this story touched your heart, subscribe to Quiet Fame for more journeys that inspire and restore faith in humanity. Because sometimes the quietest acts of giving create the loudest echoes of change.